Long time no see, everyone. It appears to be a truly Halloween-themed live stream with all kinds of ghosts messing up, ghosts and spirits messing up our live stream. So apologies for the technical difficulty, folks. If the stream stops again, we're just going to be recording it offline and then sharing it with you so that we can keep things going and a bit more consistent. But for now, Harry, sorry, but you need to restart your presentation. Please take it away.
Yeah, just bring up the slides. Okay, so I'm just going to give a quick roadmap update on Nym. I'll do the history really quickly since I already did that once. Basically, the project started way back. We launched our original MixNet and Chaos Computer Congress in 2019. So the kind of preview I'm giving everyone is that we're going to launch the VPN 4 years later at Chaos Computer Congress this year in Hamburg. So I hope everyone, particularly people in Germany and other European countries, can attend. So for those of you that don't know much about Nym, the white paper is a good place to start. And this year has been focused mostly on scaling. Most people have noticed that the Nym network, particularly NymConnect, it's really a piece of testing software. It's not really meant for long-term usage. That's not working very well, and that's primarily because the gateways are not rewarded and they're not up all the time. So the big change, which is again Project Smoosh, is that we're going to start rewarding the gateways. So the highest ranked mix nodes will also have gateway software installed, and those gateways will be rewarded from the inflationary pool. And that's, I think, a pretty big change, and we think it will encourage a lot of people to run gateways, which is exactly what we want. Also, NymConnect works with a finite number of pieces of software, and the goal is to basically, with the Nym VPN, is to allow open access to the internet, because we can't really predict all the kinds of things that people might want to do with a MixNet. And that's a pretty big deal insofar as that we're going to have a kind of opt-out process for getting people to basically say, okay, I'm fine with running internet software. So there's a lot of legal work going on there, and we'll offer some advice. Overall, VPNs are legal in most jurisdictions. If you're in Iran or China, you probably shouldn't run one, but everywhere else, it's more or less fine. The big deal also the Nym VPN is that what we're really hoping to get going here is something that people can pay for and use, and also use just like a normal VPN. Turn it off and on, pay for it monthly. So that's pretty cool. Part of the reasoning for that is that we really need to get more and more usage of the MixNet. Remember, the more people that use a MixNet, the more anonymous everyone is. However, we did notice there's a problem, which is that the MixNet is not fast enough for all the kinds of applications, particularly video streaming, that people like using a VPN for. So we're also going to have a version, Nym VPN will enable this functionality, and it'll be less private than the MixNet, but we think useful for some people. That will allow people to connect to a gateway, then skip the MixNet and X out another gateway. And that's essentially more of a decentralized VPN. So it would offer not very much additional privacy, but would allow high-speed access to the internet and changing IP addresses. So we really are hoping to get lots and lots of gateways online, and that will be, we think, a big breakthrough. Now, the problem with a MixNet and any kind of DVPN is that when you pay for it, it can de-anonymize you. That would be bad to have your payments linked to your usage of network. So the ZK NIMs for what we call bandwidth credentials or buying bandwidth will be enabled by end of the year. And that also requires, because the validators do the work of issuing and checking those, that requires the validators being incentivized. So there's a lot of work on basically launching up a NIC system for the validators where the NICs are redeemable in Nym. And we're still going to work on integrations. We have the new SDKs. They're getting better and better for Rust, TypeScript, WebAssembly. Obviously, Near is going to be working with the Rust SDK. We've got a bunch of other cool projects that want to jump on board for integrating against the TypeScript SDK. And so we can expect more and more partnerships and more projects to kind of jump on board Nym, because we will be the standard for network privacy across all existing cryptocurrency projects and all projects in general. So we're going to announce more about the Nym VPN and how the up for it at the Web Summit. So for anyone who's at Web Summit in Lisbon, I'll be there. For those of you who are in Turkey, Alexi will also be speaking at, I think, the Binance event there. And so we'll have a lot of kind of cool announcements coming out in the next few weeks. So looking into next year, we do expect that the ZK NIM system will be more and more mature. Ania and Alfredo have been working on the amazing ways to make it faster, which is for quote unquote offline payments. So I'll let Ania explain those, but it's really nice. We'll be working on censorship resistant gateways that allow people to use NIM in countries where there is widespread internet censorship. We want the mixnet to be the best mixnet in the world. So we're going to work a lot on parameterizing it properly and kind of final security audits and making sure those validators get rewarded, because the validators maintain the blockchain and make sure everyone gets their rewards. And that's essentially a directory authority for the Nym VPN and the Nym mixnet. And then after 2024, we're going to focus more and more on institutional adoption, building on our currently good relationships with folks like Signal and Brave. And yeah, it should be pretty exciting, and we'll standardize all the components of our system that could be used by other projects, which is quite a bit. And then around then, in order, we really do want people to use the mixnet a lot, and we want to keep speeding that up. So Chelsea Manning is continuing her work on secure hardware and hardware optimization of like the Sphinx packet format and the new upcoming Outfox packet format. So we should expect some news there. And what that basically means is that sometime in 2024, 2025, likely there'll be some kind of cool hardware that your mixed nodes can buy that let you essentially, ship 100x more packets than you can ship now, which increases your rewards and will also be just generally cool because we'll let people use the mixnet without so much of a slowdown. So that's it for the roadmap. I'm happy to take any questions. But again, we've had a lot of work done this year. We're speeding things up. So some things that we hoped to happen earlier, like NICs, have been pushed back a bit because of market conditions. Other things like the VPN are really focused. And there's a really cool part about the VPN I almost forgot, which is, if you do watch NIM, you might notice that, NIM is not the most, let's say, liquid token in the world. But it'd be pretty cool because when payment, the fees will come in fiat or cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, whatever, but those fees get converted to NIM as said in the white paper and given as rewards to the mixed nodes and validators. So the cool news is that there'll be less and less dependence on inflation in the future, and more basic focus on building
Am I the only one who lost it?
Fit. So we get every people.
We lost you there for a second, Harry. Can you hear us?
Yeah,
all right, we lost Harry.
Okay.
Anyways, this is probably the day for technical difficulties, guys, but don't worry because your questions are being received, and there's going to be an open Q&A from all the presenters today at the end of this. So for now, let's just move on to our next presenter, who's going to be Marc Sinclair, NIM's lead engineer, who's going to be bringing you a dev update and some dev insights, and also an update on NIM's technical roadmap. So Sal, please bring Marc on the screen, and Marc, take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm Marc. I'll be taking over from Dave in the future, so I'll be looking forward to seeing more of you. And as a starting point, I'd like to explain what we've got so far. And if you can go to the next slide, please. So at the moment, there are a couple of options for using NIM in your own software projects. And we're looking to improve this quite a lot. But for the moment, we think most people will be using some form of JavaScript or TypeScript. And because of this, we've created something called MixFetch. And this is a drop-in replacement for the fetch that you love and know. And it makes it really easy to do HTTP requests. However, if you've got a bunch of other use cases, so you're doing something that's more message-based, there is always the WASM client that has been in the SDK for quite a while, or you could use one of the standalone clients, WebSockets or SOCKS 5. So Harry also mentioned that we're going to be enabling ZK NIMs in mainnet soon. So the SDK will also let you purchase credentials that way, and we'll be adding some things to let you spend them or check that they're valid. All right, next slide. So going into next slide, please. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So going, oh, sorry, previous one. That's the one. So currently on NPM, there are two packages that are probably of interest: the actual Nym project SDK package, and inside there is the WASM client, and you'll be able to use that like you do every day so far to send messages back and forwards, and they can either be anonymous or the client can choose to reveal their ID, and that will work much like it does for NymConnect. Or if you're making HTTP requests, you can use MixFetch, and that will also do the TLS negotiation. And I'll go into a few more details in a bit as to how that actually works. If you're interested in querying and executing methods on smart contracts, we've got some JavaScript libraries for those. And we would also recommend that if you want to use a wallet like Kepler or Ledger, you should use Cosmos Kit, which is a fantastic set of React tools that let you use those wallets from your browser. There's lots of information at sdk.nymtech.net, and there are live examples in the playground which you can try out. And if you have any feedback, let us know. Otherwise, if you're not sure how to integrate, there's some integration advice at the link sdk.nymtech.net/integrations. So next slide, please. So with MixFetch, that's the one, we've tried to make it as simple as possible to use Nym. So with 3 lines of code, you'll be able to go and get something from the internet over the MixNet. And it works in exactly the same way as Fetch does at the moment, where you just await an asynchronous message. And you can handle the body just like you do, text or JSON or form parameters. So that should hopefully be very familiar. And likewise, you can do HTTP posts, bit more syntax there, but that's pretty easy to do too. And I think for the most part, that will cover a huge number of applications. So if we go on to the next slide, you guys will see a bit more of the details. So what happens is that inside your browser, MixFetch will turn the requests that you make, which are the lumpy blue blocks, and it will create the anonymous MixNet traffic, which is the series of packets that all look the same. And that is the traffic that will leave the user's computer and go onto the public internet. And only at the very end do they reach the SOCKS 5 network requester, which will make the actual requests on behalf of the user to the host that they're trying to connect to. So if you go on to the next slide, please, you will see that to make sure that all of the internet traffic is totally private, you would need to run a SOCKS 5 network requester inside the private network that your host is on. So this is a way that applications can make sure that all the traffic that they are generating and that goes onto the public internet will be anonymous. If you go on to the next slide, please, Sudo. Yeah. So that's for sort of an HTTP-based request system where the network requester is using SOCKS 5 to make these requests. But if you have something that's more message-based, so let's say a peer-to-peer app that is doing chatting or something that's message-based with a service, you can carry on doing what you're doing today, which is to make a service provider. And that will have a Nym client that connects out to the gateway. And again, all of the traffic that is on the internet is going to be private. So what are we going to have next? So if we go to the next slide, these are the features that we will be adding at the end of the year. We are currently working on a Node.js version of the WASM client and MixFetch. And this is so that it's possible to use both of those packages server-side, so you can put them into an Express app. And then we are creating a client to purchase ZK Nym credentials and to spend those. And then later in the year, we'll be adding libraries that let you check for double spending or validate the credential. And all of this will come with a white label portal that you can use in your own application. So if you want users to pay for a service, either in Nyms or convert them from fiat currency, there'll be a white labeled application that you can skin yourself, and you can run it on your own infrastructure. And that provides a way that your users can pay anonymously for your service. And one of the components of this will be an API that when you run it, you can put in a Stripe API key, and that will let you take payments in fiat currency and convert them to Nyms. You will need a hot wallet that provides the liquidity for that. And then the last thing, as Harry mentioned, is that on the infrastructure side, we're going to add a different type of exit policy to all of the network requesters and gateways. And this will be based on Tor null and the Tor reduced exit policy. So what that is a list of known bad services that will be denied, and there'll also be a list of good services that you can connect to. And as Harry said, this will initially be opt-in, and then later it'll be opt-out. And we hope that this will bring more gateways and network requesters into the Nym MixNet. And that we hope will improve the availability in the network and hopefully also the throughput. That's it. Handing back to you, Sudo.
Much, Mark. I'll be asking 1 or 2 questions. If you can hear me, yes. Yeah, you're still here. Okay, great. Yeah, are there any specific types of applications you reckon are more or less appropriate for integrating and using the MixNet at this point and also in the future?
I think your mic is muted, Mark.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. So I think any applications that are written in JavaScript and that use fetch, MixFetch is a really easy drop-in for that. Currently, because of the allow list, there are only a few hosts on the internet that you'll be able to use. But as we go live with these smushed gateways and network requesters, then obviously the things that open up are it all opens up to a much wider piece of the internet. So definitely React applications, say React Native, anything written in TypeScript or JavaScript, Vue, Next.js, all of those, they're really good candidates for MixFetch and should be pretty easy to integrate with.
Amazing. And are there any limitations to be wary of, like we mentioned before, latency?
Yeah, so the MixNet, obviously, its main purpose is to hide people's traffic from a global adversary. So it is adding extra delays, and because of the cover traffic, it is some of the traffic will be cover traffic and some will be real traffic. So there will be delays. So I think it's not really appropriate for doing things that are really timing specific. And that's just the sacrifice that you have to pay for things that are private. So please don't use it to do things like things that are real-time sensitive, the performance will never be good there because it specifically adds delays to add privacy.
Thank you. And we have one last question from the community. Can Nym work on Solana?
Well, so that's quite a question. So I think the thing is that it depends which bits you're trying to do. So if you're trying to make sure that any kind of transactions that you're sending are hidden from a global adversary, and you've got a way of, like in those diagrams that I showed, to hide portions of the infrastructure from a global adversary, then yes. But I think otherwise, there really are like two kinds of use cases here: user traffic and things that have to do with, say, consensus or validators, and then the validators themselves would need to have Nym built into them, because if any part is sticking out, then you're maybe not getting the benefits there. So yes, but the answer would be yes, but it depends what exactly you're trying to protect. And I suggest looking at the integration guide on sdk.nymtech.net.
Okay, thank you so much, Marc, for today. We'll move on to our next speaker, who is also Marc. Marc Debizet, who is lead product manager, and he'll tell you all about what we're excited about, the Nym VPN. Marc, take it away.
Thanks, Diane. Hey everyone, Marc, product manager at Nym here. I'll give you a quick update about Nym VPN. So we started with the NymConnect, which is the product you may all know that's currently available and that allows you to connect some of your messaging and crypto apps to the MXNet using a SOCKS 5 connection. And we recognize that this product has some limitations, and we thought about an upgrade of this product that we call Nym VPN. Next one. Yeah, you can skip this one too. Thanks. So what we did was to look at, what are the different use cases that our users may have. Looking at, an x-axis from low to high speed, from low to high performance in terms of speed, latency, etc. And then in terms of y-axis, in terms of the privacy requirements from low to high, and looked at, what does the MXNet offer today versus what are the use cases that people have, and what does the MXNet allow to cover or not cover. And today, the MXNet, as Marc and Harry mentioned, has some structural limitations in terms of performance, especially on the latency side, which allows only to capture low performance use cases such as crypto, emails, and messaging. And we're a bit saddened by that. And as Nym's mission is to offer privacy to everyone, we wanted to also make sure that we can capture all the online use cases of the users, going also into the more high performance requirements such as video conferencing, browsing, or streaming. Next one. So in the short term, if you look at the left of the screen, we have identified that there is a MXNet friendly domain where NymConnect operates, but there was on the right a bigger domain of use cases that Nym could not capture. And in the short term, we have decided that offering a decentralized VPN would be a way to make sure that we can capture into one app all the internet traffic of our users and make sure that they're protected by Nym 100% of the time. And in the short term, the MXNet has limited performance, so the domain that the MXNet can target is quite small. So that's why we offer the VPN. And then in the long term, thanks to software optimization, but also hardware optimization that Harry has mentioned, we believe that the MXNet performance can increase, and eventually over time, MXNet is going to be able to capture more and more use cases. Again, structurally, the MXNet is not going to be ever as performant as a VPN, so we'll have to keep both options. But the balance between the two is going to be towards increasing the MXNet usage over time and then covering more and more use cases over time. Next one. So that's why we're introducing Nym VPN, which is the upgrade to NymConnect. And Nym VPN helps you be in control by delivering best privacy at all times across all your devices. So best privacy means you have the best combination possible of MXNet and VPN at all times. So it means you're always connected. You don't have to switch on and off between the MXNet and another VPN. You have everything into one single product, and you can be connected at all times and across all your devices, because NymConnect is going to be available on your devices such as desktop, mobile, and other devices. Next one. We're going to give you a short demo about how it's going to look like. So if you can start the video. So you'll be able to join soon Nym VPN, see a bit the value proposition, get started to create your account. You'll see the mnemonic that you'll make sure you save in a safe state. Please join the waitlist, and then you'll be able to be one of the early birds to try the new Nym VPN and support us with the beta phase. So that's it for me. Back to Sudo and Diane.
All right. Thanks for the excellent presentation, Marc. Apparently, people may have lost the stream again, so maybe this will be shared in the form of a recording. But like we said, we're going to keep going. So if you're watching this recording, apologies for the multiple technical difficulties today. It is indeed very much a Halloween vibes town hall. All right. I have two questions for you, Marc, from the community. One is, I think it's a really good one. It's super interesting. Do you expect any issues from paying for Nym VPN on iOS devices, since Apple doesn't like payments that bypass the App Store? It's a good one.
Yes, on that, I don't really have an answer. I think we'll have to comply with Apple's policy, unfortunately, meaning that when you will buy the subscription for Nym directly on iOS, you'll have to follow the rules set by Apple. So if you want to bypass that, you'll have to subscribe to Nym directly on our website.
And on Apple, pay a hefty premium as usual. But what is the cut? 30% or something? Something like that?
Yeah, so the normal cut is 30%, and for small businesses such as Nym, it's 15%.
How generous. Anyways, so the other community question that we have is, after Nym VPN is launched and efficiently working, is there anything stopping the team from giving us a Nym antivirus?
Well, I'll leave the question maybe to Marc if he's still with us. We can think about all kinds of things, but again, the Nym's mission is to enable privacy for everyone. So we're not into cybersecurity; we're into privacy. But yeah, if Marc or Harry want to chime in, feel free to.
All right, thanks for those. These were the two quick questions that we asked from Marc. So now we're going to be moving on to our next presenter, and then of course at the end there's going to be another open Q&A. Thanks for the presentation, Marc. If you saw our recent Shipyard Masterclass, then both of these presentations, including Marc's, are going to be a bit familiar to you and also the people presenting them. So now we'll head over to Ania Piotrowska, Nym co-founder and head of research, who is going to be giving us a glimpse into Nym research. Take it away, Ania. Hi. Hi again.
Hi, thanks so much, Sudo. Thanks a lot. Okay, so yeah, you can just go to the next slide. I'll quickly give you like a walk through the most interesting projects we're working on right now. There's in general a lot of things happening on the research team because our main aim is to support, the development of the Nym network. But from the bigger project and the more interesting and the ones which we really want to push on this and next year are the following ones. So for those of you who are familiar with the MixNet, you will know that we're using the Sphinx packet format to layer encrypt the packets which are being transferred through the MixNet. Sphinx is a packet format which is designed for general multi-hop network. So for those of you who are, for example, familiar with the Lightning Network, you will know that it is being used there. However, what we notice is that because of a very specific topology of the Nym network, which is the layer topology, we can actually design a simplification of the Sphinx packet format, which we call outfox. And this is a packet which is customized for the Nym network. And we customize it in such a way that we make the processing of the packets much faster. This won't impact the latency in the MixNet because the latency is mostly determined by the additional mixing latency which we're adding. But one important thing which this packet of the network. So what we've noticed is that nodes are able to process 50% more of the outfox packets. There are a couple of missing add the support for anonymous replies to make sure that we kind of give the same features to the users as the Sphinx packet format is giving. And in addition, also the whole creation of the packet is much faster. So this is also profitable for the Nym client, as the client will be less busy preparing those packets when he is trying to communicate. So that's a big plus as well. Another project on which we're working is the new zk credentials. So both Harry and Marc mentioned that, we want to have in the Nym VPN app the support for private payments. The goal is to kind of separate your identity and your fiat payments or cryptocurrency payments from the payment which you have for using the network and from the activities which you're doing within the network. And that's what zk Nym's credentials allow you to do. So they're a type of zero knowledge based technology, which allows us to simply make sure that you're using the network, but neither the observers, neither the node operators, neither Nym as the company can tell what type of activities you're doing within the network. And if you're guys interested in details, I gave like 2 days ago a presentation about the zk Nym credentials. What we are doing now with them is that in the testnet, we have deployed kind of like a initial scheme, which we had. We're now working on a much more improved scheme. The idea is that we want to push the scheme to be more scalable. And this is, again, just to make the network perform much better. So we're swapping the way the double spending detection will work for the offline scheme. This will ensure that when you're presenting the zk Nym credential to the gateways don't have to immediately contact the blockchain and kind of instantly check for double spending. This double spending will be done offline. And the big plus of that is that we ultimately avoid a denial of service type of attacks in the network. For those of you who are kind of on top of this type of stuff, you will know that Zcash blockchain experienced a problem where someone was sending very large transactions and was spamming the blockchain, what ultimately led to the denial of service attack because pulling kind of the blockchain on your node was becoming impossible or very heavy lifting. So we want to prevent this type of threats in the future, and that's why we're improving the zk Nym credentials. Another project on which we're working is further securing the mixnet. So we want to add forward secrecy and replay attack detection. For that, we implemented kind of like a proof of concept addition of the noise protocol on the links between the nodes in the network, the mix nodes and the gateways, and the mix nodes and mix nodes. This adds an additional link encryption and allows us to easily achieve the forward security. And soon we will be also adding mechanism to detect any potential reply attacks. So these are attacks in which a malicious user or malicious network observer is trying to re-inject the same packets into the network and see if he can increase the chances of tracing them as they go through the nodes. So this is quite important to also have kind of like a mechanism to detect this type of attacks and prevent them, to further strengthen the privacy of the users. And the last project, which we already kicked it a little bit, but we'll try to push on it much harder next year, is the censorship resistance. So of course, we want to build a network which can be very easily accessible by users regardless of their geolocation. So the first thing which we did is we developed a bunch of tests to check for censorship of the Nym network. Those tests have been shared with the community, so you can take the test and run and see whether in your location the Nym gateways or the Nym validator API is being blocked. And if yes, please let us know. So this will help us kind of narrow down if any of the geolocations are already blocking Nym or not. And the next steps will be to look at the existing censorship resistance techniques, the ones which are being used by other VPNs or systems like Tor and so on, and see which ones of them are best suitable for us to add in the Nym client or in the Nym network to protect the users from being not able to access the network due to censorship. So these are kind of like the core projects. If you have any questions, please feel free, and Sudo, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Ania. I do have one question actually. So are there any plans to make the eCash system interoperable with other blockchain or payment ecosystems? And how would this impact user privacy and cross-platform transactions? You can see the question in the chat.
Yeah, so in general, the whole scheme which we designed, which was published at PETS, is quite generic. You can use it, we used it in Nym for paying for using of the Nym network, but it can be used in many other scenarios. It can be used by other blockchains. It could be used by CBDCs and so on. So it's a very generic protocol which could be deployed in many situations. So that's really a little bit up to imagination and the needs of people from other projects and so on. Right now, we're not planning to do any big scale integrations. We'd rather focus on using them within our network. But once we're gonna polish this and we'll be happy how this works with them, who knows where we're gonna look to.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that was all from your side. So yeah, let's move on to the next speaker. Thank you so much, Ania. We have Ade next. Ade is our business development manager, and he's in charge of partnerships and other initiatives such as the recent ecosystem fund program. So please, Ade, tell us more about what you do.
Thanks, Diane. So we'll now move on to how Nym is fostering growth through the ecosystem as well as innovation fund initiatives. Next slide, please. So we'll start with the very exciting partnership announcement between Nia and Nym. So this will see Nia integrate Nym's MixNet technology into its ecosystem. And this will allow users on the Nia protocol to access their favorite NFTs, DeFi protocols, dApps, away from the prying eyes of cyber criminals. Next slide, please. Okay, and next we have the $300 million innovation fund. So we've set this up because we're looking to support projects who are looking to leverage the Nym technology stack. So we're targeting technical projects as well as individuals that want to use Nym's technology, and we'll be evaluating them on their level of creativity, technical feasibility, privacy, as well as team quality. And of course, we'll also be looking at how they align with Nym's goals. Current RFPs, that is current areas that we're looking to fund, include Web3 wallet extensions, RPCs, as well as public goods services. But of course, there's also an open section where individuals and projects can submit applications for areas that we haven't listed in the application form. Also, the selection process will look like this. The project teams first submit an application form. We then do an internal review of that application. After the project team is selected, we then go through the signing of a contract. They then start to deliver the project. And then finally, we have the closing out of the project where the funding has been done and the project is delivered to Nym. So how do you apply? Very simple. You could just do a search of Nym Innovation Fund or head to our Medium page where you can see all the complete instructions. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Ade. Can I please ask one of our CMs to drop a link to the blog post that was mentioned about the Nym Innovation Fund so that people can find it in the chat? Excellent presentation as always. Good to have you back on stream. So the question that I have for you from the community is regarding the Nym partnership with Near Protocol. So what are the benefits that the Nym community can see in the long term from this partnership?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for the Nym community, obviously, if we once the Near partnership is live, once the integration has been done, then it means that we're going to be having more traffic going through the MixNet nodes, which invariably means there will be more rewards for our node operators as well as validators. So that's the immediate benefit that we'll see.
Thanks for that. This was the only question that I'm asking Ade in this like short Q&A, but remember that there's also going to be an open Q&A at the end. So if your question was not answered, then we may address it there. Thanks, Ade, for coming on. And last but not least, the last of our presenter is Nym co-conspirator Huxian, who you probably already know if you spent any amount of time in the Nym community. And Hux is going to be giving a talk about Nym Shipyard and squads and why squads are important. Hux, take it away.
Hey, can you hear me? Hey guys, thanks for being here.
Loud and clear.
Beautiful. Thanks for this opportunity. So can you go one slide next? And after all these beautiful technical talks, I wanted to do something more simple. So if you abstract what Nym is building, it's basically cutting edge technology. So what Nym Shipyard is focusing on is developing the most crucial part for this or any kind of technology, an ecosystem of humans, who operate decentralized infrastructure, who develop applications or integrations for the mixnet, and also visionary creatives who can imagine a future where privacy is a default for all humans. But so Nym Shipyard is a 6 weeks long, massive open online academy of digital privacy, and is a bootcamp for the next generation of privacy enablers. We are in this is the second season of the Nym Shipyard, and we're in the second stage out of 3 stages, and we started roughly a month ago in October. So stage 2 exams coming up this Saturday, and stage 3 is opening next Monday. And this is kind of the most fun and important last stage, the big finale of this academy, where participants choose to attend one or more of 3 specialization tracks: builders for hacking together applications using the mixnet, operators of mixnet operators, and visionaries. So we currently have around 2,000 almost verified individuals, being not bots, with us attending the academy, and who by now have learned a lot about the state of internet privacy from masterclasses and what Nym is building to achieve privacy as default. So and basically this is where the Shipyard is, I think, the most valuable or most interesting, because as any good academy, it's also more than just about learning individually. Shipyard is about catalyzing a global Nym community whilst increasing the accessibility and the social resilience of the mixnet, because diversity and the interconnectedness of our global privacy enabler community is what actually drives the resilience behind the technology what Nym is building. Next slide, please. So yeah, basically I said all this before, but I'm just going to recap one more time, maybe different words. So why is community important for such a project developing decentralized open source software? Because it's the community who operates the decentralized infrastructure. It's building the rails for the metadata leak-proof online systems, basically operating and scaling the mixnet. The community is also the entity or the group of people who develop real use cases and integrations via creating new apps or decentralized applications or just integrations. And also the third part where community comes super handy or plays a super important role is we need to imagine the future, what this vision entails, and creative visionaries shape the future by their stories and imaginations that help others tell a great story, help others find meaning, and eventually this is what sort of the third magic ingredient what makes applications and integrations and the good decentralized infrastructure work together well. And squads, it's my definition only, how I defined it, are autonomous collective intelligence agents weaving trust into the fabric of mixnet. So basically what we imagine squads to be are independent units who have a collective will and motivation to do something cool, which is connected to our collective mission, and basically creating a social mesh layer on top of the technology that's being operated by all the members of the wider Nym ecosystem. Next slide, please. So yeah, how to get involved if you're hearing this for the first time, or if you've been listening to all the Shipyard workshops and sessions before, it's super easy. First step is to find friends in our social channels. There's also a Discord squad matchmaking channel, but there's so many different places such as Matrix or Telegram groups where cool conversations happen. Second step is to dream wild, figure out what you're good in, what your friends are good in, what you're good in together, start operating mixnodes, start developing sort of proof of concept applications that use the mixnet. And yeah, again, the third and most important step, come through and build that stuff that you dream about. And yeah, I think that was all I wanted to present for today in the highest of steps and levels about the Nym shipyard. I think I also have time for 2 questions if we have any. Sudo, can I, yeah.
All right.
Fantastic.
Excellent presentation as always. Also very poetic, poetic words. Always good to have you on, Hugs.
Halloween mood somehow. I don't know. Yeah. Thanks for having too.
Yeah,
so no
thank
questions
you so much,
for me.
Hugs. We do have one question, 1 or 2 questions from Bikram. So they want to know a few things about the squad system. What are you looking for in a squad, and which type of squad will get priority?
There's a fantastically cool Notion page about this, what we're sharing across all socials. So make sure to check that Notion out. Everything what you need to know about squads is already there. But to answer your question also in the live, I think we're looking to see some very distinct but very well-shaped ideas what people can imagine building together in the mixnet. So the reason I cannot answer this question in like KPIs and numbers and very strict, boundaries of what a squad might look like is because it's exactly the same that we don't really want to limit all the cool stuff that can come out of as a result of a group of people, motivated and working together for global privacy being accessible for everyone. So, but yeah, if you look for specifics, check out the Notion doc. And we're going to be there's going to be a blog post coming out soon about squads and how we're going to measure the sort of impact proposed by all these squads and individuals. I hope that answered your question shortly.
Yes, that was perfect. The only thing I would add is that I'm not sure about the shipyard schedule. I don't have it in front of me, but probably there's going to be at least one more workshop for you and I and everyone who's interested in squads or participating in one. Make sure to join those. First of all, they are really fun. Like really, really fun. And also you can learn all there is to know about squads, and you can also find out about existing squads that you may be able to join if you're not willing to or able to create your own.
And the most important part, that people who attend these more laid-back sessions on Fridays can get the Ship Nerds role on Discord, which is, I think, the coolest part of all, no?
Which is very exclusive. Yes. Very exclusive. We're not just giving it out to anybody. All right. With that, I think it's time for us to bring all of our lovely participants back to the screen, and let's go for that open Q&A. Here they come. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
All right, Diane, you want to take it away with the first question?
Sure. So we're starting the open Q&A now. So just general questions about everything. If you have more, please drop them in the chat, but we have collected a few already. So the first one is, does Nym have a test net to be able to use it and develop ideas using the SDK? So maybe for Marc or Harry.
I'll answer that. So Nym does have a test net. We're busy upgrading it at the moment. So it will soon have all the features that we hope to put in mainnet soon. But you are able to do things like buy ZK-Nyms. It's got a small mixnet, and it has all the APIs that are currently in mainnet plus some more. So feel free to try that. If you want testnet tokens, just drop a message in the channel and we'll get some to you.
All right, thanks for that answer. Next one is deceitful because it's about 7 questions in one, but I'm going to ask the whole thing and let you guys jump on it. So where do you see the Nym token in the future? How does it rank among privacy-focused projects? And also, when will you integrate the Nym network into other exchanges like Kraken? Whoever wants to take it, go ahead.
I mean, the question is, where do we see the Nym token in the future? Well, I mean, the Nym token future depends on the Nym network, right? So if no one uses the Nym network, then the Nym token will have be sort of useless. If a lot of people use it, it will have a great future. And I think a lot is really depending on how many people basically sign up and use the Nym VPN product, and how many partnerships we have with folks like Near that will be using the Nym mixnet. I mean, I think these are really crucial for determining what you would call like essentially the fit of the Nym network. And so I think in terms of like other privacy projects, the cryptocurrency space is full of scams, for lack of a better word. And I think it's a little bit absurd that some privacy projects that it's not even clear what they're doing have like whatever higher rankings than Nym. I think with Nym, I think we're really obviously clearly producing software that we've needed, since the Snowden revelations, really. And Snowden agrees, and I agree, and Chelsea Manning agrees, and everyone who's worked on software like Tor and other software agrees that mixnets have a place in the future. And so for that reason, I'm pretty comfortable with Nym. I'm or confident, let's say, in the future of Nym. Now, I mean, in terms of Kraken, Kraken are they have a very good tech team. As people know, they integrated with Nym pretty rapidly, and they support the native Nym token, which is better than most exchanges. I've hung out with Jesse Powell and gave me a ride in his car once. The Kraken team is generally very supportive of Nym. Jesse's really into privacy. I'm not really sure about the new CEO. I don't know what future. Kraken is very white gloves, I would say, with what they do and what they don't do. So we can ask them to do stuff, and they may or may not do it. And obviously, they have a long-term interest in privacy, which is one of the reasons they back Nym. So I think, but I can't give you any guarantees on what they'll do or not do. I mean, we are thinking of asking Kraken if they would support native mixed node staking. That would be cool. We're hoping that some exchanges will support that to make it easier for people to stake who don't feel comfortable using Nym wallet. Obviously, we want to enable validator staking in the future. And there's very few exchanges that actually have competent tech teams. Off the top of my head, Kraken and Bitfinex and very few others have teams that can really handle complex Cosmos-based development. So I think we will probably see more from Kraken, but because they're so mysterious, and we don't know any more than you do, we can just ask them to do stuff, and maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't. Okay, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harry. Let me move on to the next question. So is there anything from behind the scenes that we can share? For example, new partnerships? Are there also other blockchains or projects that want to use the Nym mixnet?
Yeah, I mean, we have, I can share one or two of these, and maybe Ade can add more. There's a lot of interest and usage. We have probably, I don't know, at any given moment, 4 or 5 other projects wanting to use the Nym network. A lot of our problems is just, up until we had Ade join the team, I didn't have the bandwidth to handle all of the messages, and we didn't have SDKs in a point. But thanks to Marc Sinclair's hard work and all the great DevRels like Sarinko and Alexei, we didn't really have the people to help provide the integration. So Zcash is very interested, and Zuko's been a very strong supporter of Nym. So I think we're going to see some action there fairly shortly. And I think there are numerous other kind of, basically any ZK project that's not totally ran by amateurs will want to integrate against Nym. So for example, even if you just read the Zcash white paper, it says, hey, you should use, for these privacy constraints on ZK to actually work, you really should use either anonymous channel like Tor or Mixnet, and this is why Mixnet is preferable, and that's actually in the Zcash paper. And in the Zcash paper, it has a lot of non-Zcash scientists in it, folks like Madars Verse at MIT, who's really a big Nym supporter. So I think we'll see stuff like that in the future. And also the weird thing about Nym, which is not entirely intuitively obvious to people, is that because it's a generic mixnet, even if you don't like cryptocurrency, and a lot of people for various reasons don't, you still have interest in the mixnet. So for example, Signal's obviously very interested. We haven't, obviously, it's going to be very hard to do that integration because they have a lot of traffic, but we keep in touch with Meredith. Moxie's a good friend. And we can imagine there'll be more and more kind of normal apps that are kind of way outside the cryptocurrency space using the mixnet in the future as well. So we'll see, I think, a mixture. We'll see a lot of cryptocurrency partnerships first, particularly in the ZK space, and then more and more like traditional like apps that had consumers use and whatnot next, and enterprises as well. Ade, do you have any more to add?
You put it perfectly, Harry. So we're going to see a lot more ZK integrations. We're going to see a lot of vanilla L1s. And outside of that, we're also going to see a lot of Web 2 apps integrate thanks to Nym VPN. So just watch this space. There's going to be a lot more partnerships pouring in.
Great, thanks for that answer, guys. Ade, the next question is also for you. So people seem to be very excited about the near partnership that we announced, but details appear to be a little sparse. So the next question is, it would be great to hear the financial details of the near deal. How exactly will it affect total revenue of the Nym Mixnet in the future? Do you have any preliminary calculations you can share? Sorry.
I mean, I might be better positioned for this. I mean, in terms of like, the question, so how a partnership with another blockchain works is that blockchain will use the Nym network, and any fees that go over the Nym network, some portion of those fees will go to the Mixnet validator. So the real question is, what's the financial details, but the real question is how many people use the Near network, and how of the folks who use the Near network, how many of them will use Nym? And now Near is sort of interesting because Near is not known as a privacy network. So, doesn't have well-known ZK. It's got some ZK work on it. And so what, Near is interested in, and Near's been supportive of us since the Open Web Collective days, is that Near is interested in us providing a kind of holistic approach to privacy on their network. So that would include ZK, on Near, and also include the Nym Mixnet. And then the other question is like how many users of Near jump on a Nym, and I think a lot depends on how we roll out. So we can imagine very simple integrations like JavaScript integrations in Near wallet. I think are pretty straightforward. And then I know like Ilya and everyone's interested in like in a larger privacy picture as well. So what I can expect will happen is that it will take a few months of development, and maybe a few months of R&D and looking at their network as well. And then we'll probably launch at least a wallet integration, if not more. And what we could do, which may be pretty cool, but I'll have to schedule it. Near is very busy with NearCon right now, and I think Ade will be there. So if you're at NearCon, you can meet Ade, but maybe me and Ilya, who we can go do. Ilya is the CEO of Near or founder or whatever. We can do maybe a Twitter space over the Near and Nym stuff after they've calmed down a bit after NearCon. So it's really hard to predict the effect. It really depends on how many users actually kind of want privacy on Near. We'll find out.
Thank you, Harry. I can't wait for the Twitter space as well. My next question is from Marc S. So I read the question out. I want to know more about the governance model of Nym, how decisions are made regarding network upgrades or changes, and how the project ensures that no single entity can exert undue control over the Mixnet.
Yeah, it's a good question. So that's why we've got the validator set, and they really form the governance of everything that goes on with the chain. And also, there's a voting system built into Cosmos chains where there's a proposal, and they control all sorts of things, upgrades of the chain itself. And later, as we decentralize more and more of these components, they'll also control whether the smart contracts can be upgraded too. As we put the ZK Nyms into mainnet, there'll be a similar process for the Nym API, which is responsible for signing credentials. So just like other Cosmos chains, there's a proposal, it will have a voting time, and we're relying on a strong validator set and the validated staking that's built into Cosmos chains. Thanks
for that. Folks, do we have more time for, we have quite a few more questions. Are you okay going a bit over? How do we feel? Just throw me one of those. Okay, cool. Ania, we're going with your decision. So next question, I think this one is for our other Marc. I want to know, no, sorry, that was the previous question. Interesting to know what the price per month will be for the VPN in Nym, and how does this relate to the Nym token? Do we have anything firm on that?
So I can answer the first part of the question and leave the second one to to Harry. So on the pricing of Nym VPN, it will be announced soon. Yeah, I don't want to announce the pricing yet, but it's been discussed internally, and yeah, it will be roughly in line with what you can expect to pay for other VPN services. And yeah, for the second part of the question, maybe Harry wants to take this one, how this will relate to the Nym token price.
Or just
I mean,
the Nym token
we
in
don't
general.
know. Yeah, I mean, no one knows exactly what the Nym token price will do. One thing that, I mean, is clear though is the general mechanism design. So the general mechanism design works that when someone purchases a VPN access, let's say I buy it for $10 a month, then the majority of that $10, I mean, there's a lot of fees and other stuff that gets taken out, but you know, at least a large portion of it would then have to be a Nym token purchase, because you have to convert, let's say, a fiat payment into Nym token to use Nym network. The whole point of the Nym token is access to the Nym network, and then the Nym token is purchased on the open market, and then once that purchase order goes through and it's confirmed, then it gets transferred into a ZK Nym, and that ZK Nym kind of credentials then used to access network, as it's essentially a kind of proof that you have paid. So, you know, obviously the way that most of these things work is that if more people use the network, that's good for the token. If less people use it, that's bad for the token. And so a lot is really just depending on how many users we get, which we'll know hopefully pretty soon.
Thank you. I'll ask a next question. Yeah, when will there be a link to sign up for the early VPN?
Yes, that link will be announced by myself and Chelsea Manning at the Web Summit on November 16th. So there will be a link to sign up.
One more thing to add to this, guys. If you are Shipyard participants, all I'm going to say is that keep your eyes peeled on our channels. If you're keen to play around with Nym VPN, then in the coming days, make sure to pay close attention to our channels. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on to the next question. Beyond the Nym VPN, are there specific protocols or APIs that developers can utilize to integrate the Nym mixnet into their own applications or services? I think this one is for you, Marcus.
Yeah. So we've been working on a bunch of examples and prototypes for libp2p. So if that's something that you use, definitely have a look at that. We're trying to cover all the use cases, so discovery, chat, etc. Please have a look. And if you've got any suggestions, we're all ears. And otherwise, HTTP requests, HTTPS, we've kind of got that covered with Mixfetch. So I guess the next logical things to look at would be WebSockets. And then there are some more interesting protocols that are becoming more standardized in browsers. So eventually we would like to support Quick, but that's going to be something that is like pretty dependent on all of the browser vendors agreeing. So bear with us when it becomes more standardized, we'll hopefully do those. And I think that would work a lot better than, say, WebRTC. So, but yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Some of that will come next year.
Thank you, Marc. Does Nym have any plan to integrate the mixnet with big international companies like banks and others? I think they meet in Web 2. Who wants to take this?
Yes, I can take it. Yeah, I mean, we have had some interest from banks, for example, Taurus Group, which, so there's banks, and banks typically don't provide their own software. There's like companies that provide bank software. So Taurus Group, which is a Swiss company, you know, their CTO, JP Amundsen, which wrote the book on Rust cryptography, he did our initial security audit. He did that because they're interested in using the software to some extent. So they're very interested in eventually bundling mixnets. We have had discussions with at least Swiss banks. I don't know if we've had discussions with non-Swiss banks. And yeah, you know, Nym was originally designed because the German government and the European Union were sick of being spied on by the NSA. So there's continual interest from the European Commission and various governments in using Nym. I imagine that attention that will go up. I think maybe the biggest play we have is probably Nym's advisor, Andreas Arauz, who used to be the head of the Central Bank of Ecuador, is interested in working on payment systems and banking in Latin America. Brazil is a huge economy. Latin America in general is a huge economy. And so one thing that if you're like in Latin America and you're worried about is, will the US government come in and overthrow me, right? So that scares people. And they're also very worried about surveillance. So I think in terms of kind of government and banking interests, any kind of financial payment systems that they set up, there's already strong support for Nym and our kind of hardline privacy stance. In terms of more, traditional companies, Ben Laurie from Google, seeing him next week. He's on our advisory board. He used to be security chief at Google, released TLS the browser and certificate transparency. So there's been continual interest, not just from Ben, but from a few other employees as well.
No, I think we lost Harry.
And
oh no. Well, that's unfortunate. I think the next question, the last question, which is a really good one to wrap up with, both because it's connected to the previous question, and also because it's a good way to indicate how far Nym has come. So the last question, I don't know who can take it, is what product apps currently use Nym? Ade, maybe?
Yes, so I can take that one. Yeah, definitely. So right now, if you connect to NymConnect, you can actually use the MixNet with your Telegram messaging, with Electrum, as well as with Blockstream. Also, any apps that use SOX 5 that are SOX 5 compatible can use the MixNet to make the messaging more secure.
All right.
Okay, well, I think that we can start to conclude the first Nym Town Hall. Thank you everyone for joining. We hope you had fun, and so sorry about all the technical issues. Just a reminder, if we haven't answered your question yet, don't worry, just join the Nym community matrix server on Element, and we're going to address all of the outstanding questions there. So if you have any ideas or feedback about this town hall, please share it as well. And for our Latin American community, we know this was probably too early for you. So please, if you're watching the recording and you have any questions, you can also drop them on Element in our matrix server. So we'll see you in about 3 months for the next town hall. And Sudo, I believe there's a Pope event for this event. There's a Pope for this event. So any news on that?
Yes, there is always a pop for all the events, guys. Remember that. So the secret phrase for today's town hall is "Privacy Loves Company," and that is because for the first time we've had all this nice company over here and gave you this town hall. So I thought this was appropriate here. So the claiming instructions are the usual, except for this. I think given the technical difficulties, and of course also the fact that this town hall is very early for our beloved Latin American community, we're going to be extending this to 24 hours. So you can use the link that is going to be shared in the chat with the phrase with the same spelling, "Privacy Loves Company," all in one word, all non-capital letters, to claim your POAP. Big thanks everyone for coming on and doing this. I think we really pulled it off, even despite all the technical difficulties. So I hope to see you again next time in about 3 months on one more of these. And I hope we're going to be sharing even more amazing updates than today. Have a lovely day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.